The final movie I want to be talking about today is another one of those films that was highly anticipated by me, and in this particular case it turned out to be very satisfying. It's The Sisters Brothers. It's made by a French filmmaker. I don't have reference to his name at the moment, I apologize for that, but it stars Joaquin Phoenix, Jake Gyllenhaal, John C. Reilly, and Riz Ahmed, and it is a Western basically set in Oregon and California in 1851. The Sisters Brothers are the equivalent of bounty hunters, hired men who work for somebody who's referred to as the Commodore, apparently a wealthy operator who wants a secret that Riz Ahmed's chemist has discovered. It's gold rush times. People are out searching for gold. They're panning for gold. They're mining in all kinds of ways. And he appears to have developed a method that's going to make finding the gold much easier. And in seeking an investor in the Commodore, he apparently turned loose a monster who wanted to steal his information and use it for himself without giving the actual inventor the power or control over this idea. The Sisters Brothers basically are after him. Their goal is to extract from him the formula, return it to the Commodore, and kill him. Kill the chemist. His name is Herman Warren, and he's one of those odd characters. For a Western, he's the mild-mannered character who comes into town, sort of like Jimmy Stewart in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. He's not a violent man. He's somewhat intellectual. He's definitely philosophical. He's a bit of an early communist or socialist, believing in a utopian sort of society where everybody helps each other out at some point, but he recognizes that's not the world that he lives in. Jake Gyllenhaal is in the film also. He's sort of an accomplice of the Commodore and the Sisters Brothers at first, as he tracks down Ahmed's character, and he comes to see things in a different way. He becomes something of a protector of Ahmed, even though he treats him pretty violently at first himself. One of the things that I really liked about the film is the way the characters speak. The language is not all that different from contemporary English. Most of the words you're going to recognize, but they deliver it in an extremely mannered style. They articulate the words in a way that seems antiquated. They speak not slowly, but deliberately. And all of the characters seem to be reflecting the way the times actually were. It reminds me of the Charles Portis language in True Grit that the Coen brothers tried to be faithful to in their version of True Grit, and that I think was also present quite a bit in the John Wayne version of True Grit. You can tell that the characters are speaking in a manner to one another that is of that time, rather than that there being a contemporary situation. Although there are several uses of the F word, so I assume that there's a little bit of stretching of the imagination. The performance in the movie that I think is most standout is John C. Reilly, who is usually known as a comic actor. Obviously, with all the work that he does with Will Ferrell, he's notorious for that. He's got this film, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and a Holmes and Watson comedy with Will Ferrell coming out this year. So within just a few short months, he's the star of 3 big films. And I think that the other films he's going to probably come across in a very humorous way. This film, he is a serious character, and he is basically the older brother of Joaquin Phoenix. And both of them are violent men who don't have a lot of positive qualities, except that they care for each other. And even when they care for each other, though, they are a little bit brutal in the way they express their brotherly love, so to speak. Riley is actually the central figure in the story. It's his narrative that we're following for the most part. And although Joaquin Phoenix is the dramatic wild card character, and Gyllenhaal is the thoughtful, philosophical character, and Herman is the interesting, introspective character, John C. Reilly's Eli is the character that we're going to care the most about. He's conflicted about their job. He's conflicted about his loyalty to his brother, and he's also very funny in the film, even though he's not doing comedic things. There are two or three things that happen in the movie that are quite amusing. The film will probably remind you of a Coen Brothers film because it does have some serious elements mixed with humor, but the humor is based in the context. It's not jokey kinds of things. It's a result of incongruent events happening. And I like that quite a bit. The story plays out. There are several scenes of violence, but I don't think that you'll find that they are the focus. There are two or three showdowns and shootings that occur in the film, but that's not the main focus of the movie. The tone, though, of the film is always suspenseful, despite the fact that we're not always expecting there to be a gunfight breaking out, because the characters are on edge the whole time, and even when they get the things that they're looking for, they're dissatisfied in some way. The conclusion of the film is sad. It is definitely not what I think most people would be expecting, and like I said, the performers are very good. Joaquin Phoenix starred in a film earlier this year that I think is probably going to be in my top 10 for the year, and I think he's going to be appearing in a second film in my top 10 for this year because The Sisters Brothers is a film that I really liked. I hope to see it again. I expect that I'll get a chance to write about it because I think that it'll be a film that people will be talking about at the end of the year for awards consideration as well. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but to me it was one of the best films that I've seen this year, and I'm sure happy that I'll be able to write about it later on. My goal here has just been to try and catch up on as many of the films that I saw in the last week as I could because I've just not been in the mood to write this week. So I hope that this works for most of you. I'll try to be a little bit more careful about writing in the future. I saw 3 films in 2 days or 3 days, and I never had time to write about them, and now it's 4 or 5 days later, and I just wanted to make sure that I didn't fall too far behind in keeping up on my general guidelines for the blog, which is to have a post on every movie that I saw in a theater. So The Sisters Brothers gets a very high recommendation from me. I hope that you all will find it out there and look it up because I think you'll find that it's worth your time. All right. Thank you much.